This is the nerdy bit about the making of Depresso. I wrote Depresso in small notebooks like these, and the idea of that was so as that they could always be with me. And I wrote it mostly on the hoof, in parks, woodland, on buses, in waiting rooms, and I wrote in pencil. In the evenings I'd then edit it tightly. I'd strip away words. I got through a lot of rubbers. I almost never did a thumbnail of an image or the layout of a page, with the sole exception of the silent pages, of which there are a couple in the book. Once I was happy with the writing with a particular section, I'd number the panels, work out how many panels per page, and then come straight to the drawing board. Now, because of the chaotic nature of the story, I restricted myself to 3 lines and a maximum of 6 of that size panel per line. It didn't often happen, but I did use it occasionally. And then I drew myself a template, which is this, and simply laid the sheet I was going to work on top of it, and worked out by tracing through the pacing of the panels. Once that was done, I took a piece of mass paper, I don't know if you can see this, but a piece of mass paper to use as a template to write the text. And there are always going to be mistakes in writing up the text, so I put the corrections in the margins. I did the writing of the text in ink straight away, and I did all that in silence, so that I could concentrate. Once that was done, I put on the music or the radio or I don't know, talking book, and I got into the drawing. I drew in pencil to start off with, HB pencil, used a lot of erasers, and once I was happy with the pencil, I then turned to my pens, and these are my pens. As you can see, I like pens, but these are the ones I most use. So here we have the lettering pens. This is the Pilot 0.5, and if I want to bold up any of the words, I use the Birol handwriting pen. With the 0.5, I also do most of my drawing of the characters. These 3, which go from 0.2 to 0.05, these are for fine work. And these little beauties are paintbrush pens. This is a thick one, and this is a bit finer. And I do all the borders with these, and any close-ups. If I've got a full figure in a frame in the foreground, then I'll use this. I like the thick and thin effect that you can get. Okay, so those are the pens. With large areas of black, I'd simply put a dot to remind me to let the computer fill that in. So when I've finished doing the inking, I'd then rub out the pencil and give the page a once over. Maybe put a little more character into the folds, the creases of clothing, speed lines, that sort of thing. And when I was happy with that, it was time to go to the computer. So, off we go. We're now going to scan it. I scan at 500 dpi on a 64% reduction bitmap. Once it's in the machine, I convert it to grayscale and start cleaning up the page. So I'll cut and paste in any corrections, I'll clean up any mistakes, I'll look at the lettering and make sure it's totally decipherable, that sort of stuff. Generally getting it ready for the layers to go on. Here we have a couple of pages to illustrate what's going on with the layers. This is the original page and that's the printed version. So here you can see that we have the tones, the tints, the grey tints. That'll be one set of layers. Then maybe a few special effects or text as in here. And then found images which have been cut into these billboards. You have to use found images quite judiciously, and this is a rather exceptional page, but it illustrates the point. Once I'm happy with the page, I'll then print out a copy and have a good look at that. So let's have a look at the printed copy. So here we have the printed page, and I would give this a real going over, and as you can see this is one I prepared earlier, marking up in the margins corrections I needed to make, improvements, things I'd forgotten to do. Once I was happy with that, the page went in what is the whole book. This is Depresso, and as you can see from the tabs, there are lots of corrections, improvements I needed to do. Now this process goes on, well, it goes on for the 2 years it took to produce Depresso, for two reasons. One is because it wasn't produced beginning through to end. It was done in chunks and then put together. So quite often you would be on a page like this and suddenly think, oh yeah, actually this page would be greatly improved if I added this, that or the other, or took away or improved, and it would refer and relate so much better to what's going on at the back. Once you've done all that, it's ready for going to the publishers. In the case of Depresso, the process continued even after the book was accepted for publishing by Knockabout Comics. Tony Bennett, what he really is, Knockabout, he went through my perfect English and discovered around 20 spelling mistakes, which is a total drag because of course all those corrections have to be made by hand. We also agreed that one of the pages, which is pretty good going, one of the pages needed a total redraw. The text was fine, and even the positioning of the text was fine, but that one page was really needed looking at. So that's it, really. That's how Depresso was put together. It's a pretty obsessive compulsive process, producing a graphic novel. The best that can be said for it is it keeps you off the streets.